Hey everybody, welcome back. We're doing a sort of macro analysis of the what I believe to be the foundation of the problem with Marvel Strike Force, at least as far as building your roster gear type concept. And I think really what happens at the crux of this concept really splinters into everything else. So I want to cover that a little bit. I want to show you, like I said, a macro version of what I'm not getting into a lot of detail, but I want to get into some where I think it convey a point. Because I think if we get into too much detail, it's probably going to get watered down a little bit. Maybe that's a video for a future. We'll see. So if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord link in the description below. Come by. We like to do efficiency, a lot of analytical type stuff normally, honestly. I'm a spreadsheet type person, but I try to make, videos that help people play the game maybe a little bit better, a little bit more efficiency, min-max type thing. So anyway, come check it out. Let's check out this analytics and discussion a little bit. Amazon coins. I wish I would have known about these when I started spending at all on Amazon / in gaming. I can't believe I waited this long to do it. I could have saved, I don't even know how much money. It's kind of scary to think about. The up to 20% at the peak value. Even some of the smaller ones, smaller packages have good values. I encourage everybody, if you're going to spend on any of this stuff, definitely do it through Amazon coins. The savings by themselves speak volumes. So save that money if you're going to spend it. Be smart. I mean, if you know you can save 20% on something, you're going to spend the money on it, wouldn't you want to do it? So anyway, the link in the description below brings you to this page. Buy whatever you want here. Pick whatever package. There's all kinds of other packs here. If you want to help support the channel, click that link that does bring you here. And every time you do purchase this, you do need to click that link. So it's important to remember that. It only lasts for about 24 hours. So next time you come through, if you don't mind, we absolutely appreciate it here. So thank you for that. I've got a video where I walk through the steps. You can see me right here. Yeah, double face. So go check out that video. Definitely worthwhile so that you can figure out how to get this all set up, emulator, Android, all that kind of thing. So appreciate Amazon Coins for the sponsor and save yourself some money. Go do it.
Bring me WolverThor!
All right, first I want to before I get into my spreadsheet, I just kind of want to, as we go through the game here, there's just a lot of different things that you can come through here and do at the moment. Some of these things require a whole lot of different, different teams, different tunes. So you come through here, like in Doom, you can say, oh, I need bio for these nodes, skill for these nodes, tech, mutant, mystic, all these different things. And as you go through the game, there's all different types of these things, and as over the course of the game, these type of things have changed. You can't click these, as we go through this beta, there are different requirements on these depending on your, lanes. Biomystic, as you come up through here, it changes a little bit. This is pretty consistent as you go through Greek raids, that you just see that you get all these different requirements, right? And the Greek raids have been around for a while. Eventually they added no heals. That's the thing. Ultimus 7. This one has been the nice kind of consistent where you could just build whatever raid team you want. You build your best and brightest, and sometimes you have to adjust that from Ultimus 4 and 5 to 6 and to 7, and then the sliders came and you had to kind of refine things a little bit. Blitz, that's just that's there. Alliance War was a big deal. You had a bunch of stuff happen here. RTA, Dark Dimension. So anyway, you've got all these different things that where you kind of look at your roster like, what do I want to build up, or what don't I want to build up? And that's where honestly min-maxing really does come into the game. There were some arguments back in the day where people would say, well, you don't have to build up your entire roster, you don't have to use it. And it's like, okay, I disagree with that, but I'm certainly, if you were really efficient, maybe you could do that. And that's becoming less and less the idea that you can min-max or only focus on certain things in the game is becoming less and less true. I got 161 characters, 131 of those are maxed, so it's kind of like, okay, what do I want to do with that? You know what I mean? I've got to, which one of these need to be built up, and obviously you've got all these things to bump. So the point is there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of do here. You've got a lot of characters to build. Some of these things really matter. Again, there's some challenges here that you're going to go through, and I'm going to talk about these in a spreadsheet so we can see it at least it helps me visually see it. But the idea is that we've got a bunch of stuff going on. So let me pull up a spreadsheet here for you so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. All right, so I've got this spreadsheet. You should be able to see, and let me zoom in a little bit more for you here. So you've got all of these different things at launch time. So look at just this column here. I tried to have this section and this whole top section is called Widening Roster. So we're going to look across this section, or I guess for you guys, it's across this section. And see the different ways that the game has introduced mechanics, game modes, things that are like you as a player need to have more characters built up in a wider roster. The game, pretty much like I mentioned, started with Arena, Ultimus Raid, Blitz, which Blitz doesn't really count in my mind. It's like, look, you're going to blitz with whatever you got. The daily challenges, it's funny, back in the day, those daily challenges and these monthly challenges were what I first started doing my priority videos on. So I'd be like, look, I think you need to build hand up to get those relic mats so that you wouldn't have catalyst problems. Or, you're in the mercs back in the day, I mean, they were trash. So you was like, man, I can't 7 stars. Well, your Deadpool, if you get a super high Deadpool or you higher red stars, you may be able to do it. In Block Party City, before symbiotes, I remember people trying to do videos to show beating that, and unless you had a high red star on something, it was just like, get out of town. You might as well not even try it. Same concept with controller protector things. Those were difficult. So anyway, that was the original start of the game where you have a slight expansion of your roster. It wasn't a huge deal, but you'd have to do it. Then we had our Deadpool and Thanos raids where I believe there were some requirements on some of those nodes. I'm not remember. It was a while ago. So I believe that you did have some restrictions there. The good old 2-hour Deadpool raids, for anyone who didn't experience that, there was a time in the game where there was 2 hours that you could finish this raid. And that was all it was for. 2 hours. Now, people raged and complained. I think they lengthened it to 12 hours. And it was still difficult. So and for a global game, anyway, that's a side note. That's different Oprah. But these 2 raids, and I will say though that we had raids where if you did it, you'd get Deadpool shards or Thanos shards. That was prime time stuff there. It was awesome. And then you had, I also have down here legendary unlocks. I only listed the legendary unlocks that I kind of were like WTF moments, where it's like, really? Like, you're going to make me build up Kree? And especially when Fury first came in the game, Kree were horrible. Some people couldn't even beat the 6 and 7 star unlock because the Kree were so bad that they couldn't beat those later tiers. So I'm only mentioning those type of legendary unlocks. I'm not mentioning all of them because, the Guardians were good. They weren't bad. So I'm not going to say that was a down concept of where you're really like, well, I really need to widen my roster and I don't want to type idea. Greek raids eventually came into the game where, you're expanding by anywhere from 5 to 8 teams depending on your lanes. And, if you switch alliances or anything like that, you might need, well, we've already got someone on that lane, so you've got to build up a new. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll build up my Ravagers. You know what I mean? And that was one of the lanes for Gamma. Ravagers and, who was it? Kree. And it was just like, that was terrible. You know what I mean? And now, luckily, if you had some Kree built up, and I will admit there is some overlap in this. I willingly admit that. I know that. But again, this is a macro level that you'll see the culmination of at some point, I hope. So the Greek raids added a bunch, where you're also expanding your roster. Phoenix, first off, was 6 stars, and Mystic Villain Controllers. Rage Fest. Like, really? You're making me build up my Hand Assassin. You're making me build up my Nobu. Come on. And I remember the rage was so high about that at the time it was Fox Next. I think it was Fox Next. That they said they would never make us build up tunes that you didn't use in other parts again. Okay, well, you decide if that's true. A later stage in the game here, this column E, I personally listed Red Star Blitz because I had a bunch of characters lower than 4 stars, but when Red Star Blitz came on, I was like, oh, we need these Red Star Orbs because I need to add to my RNG bucket. So I had to bring up a bunch of tunes to 4 red. So that was mainly gold that I had to dump into characters that I normally wouldn't have wanted to. But I felt like I needed to be able to compete in the Red Star Blitz. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. War came, obviously that dramatically increased the roster size that you needed. I said 8 to 12 teams again. There's some overlap with this stuff, I admit it. But it was a big add where you really had to widen your roster because you started going, I need defense teams. I need attack teams. It's critical. I list Dark Dimension 1 here. I yellowed it because it's kind of like, again, that should be somewhere in some of this over here. Not the biggest deal in the world. Dark Dimension 2, very similar, where it's kind of like, all right, Gear Tier 13. But again, that should be built on, you build up a team that's, whether it's an arena or something team that, does well in there depending. And what you'll notice here is I'm adding numbers down here, and because these are the moments that they added things to the game that caused us to widen that roster. So in this stage of the game, and again, this is just meant to be at some point. They weren't all at the same time necessarily, but there was 3 things. Dark Dimension 1, one thing. Eventually, we got new daily challenge tiers. Okay, fine. That's all right. And I get into some of that more later. So that was something. Where you'd have to build up those controller protectors a little bit more, but not crazy. Chaos Theory, I listed this one because at the time, again, Wakandans were like just nobody wanted to build them. They were the premier raid team that wasn't. So a lot of us who didn't build them were like, mine were all super low, like level 1. But luckily they didn't make it too overly difficult. You basically, I think you got them to Gear Tier 10 to 12 depending. Most people had a pretty high Shuri because she was actually really good in raids, and she helped carry that a little bit. And then right here we get Greek sliders. You're needing at least Gear Tier 12 plus. You need raids, or I'm sorry, higher reds on your characters, level 75 plus, and eventually there's no heals there. So not only can you just focus on, one Kree, Pimtech, or whatever team that you've got going there, you might have to have more than 5 characters, because if you lose one, you got to have a 6th to bring in. That's like, all right, so now I've got to widen my roster even more. You know what I mean? Not only do I have to increase the power of the tunes that I had, I have to have another backup tune in case I lose somebody. So it's like, all right, you're making me widen my roster again. Dark Dimension 3, this is the first time I really look at Dark Dimension like, really? Really? You're now giving us trait requirements in Dark Dimension? I was like, I remember this and just being so mad. I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, like how much are you going to make me widen my roster? Like I'm having a hard time narrowly focusing my, characters as is. So as we work over to the right here, eventually we get the Doom campaign trait requirements. That's not terrible, but there were people who said, they had to build up in chat on stream. Somebody said that they had to build up their aim, and at that point in the game they didn't have them built up. And I could feel for them. Some people who are really truly trying to min-max, they felt that pain. So that was another one. Now the recent one that really came in is Doom 1. This was again it's very similar to Greek sliders, where you're looking at 5 plus additional teams, very strong teams where you're needing Gear Tier 13, 14, 15 to do well in this, or high reds. Anything under level 80 is probably not going to do very well. Get 1 to 2 shot depending what's going on, and you need the Biomystic Mutant skill tech. So it's like, again, all right, I'm widening my roster. Also DD4. I didn't highlight this one as much, but it did add a legendary. That the pain there was a little bit less because, they already did it to us in Dark Dimension 3. I added Jubilee for the legendary unlock Pimtech because, let's be real, outside of Ghost, most people are not really looking to build Pimtech. They added them to Gamma, but they didn't. The part that they really missed, they being Scopely, was, yeah, you made them a requirement in Gamma, but in their skills or their abilities, you didn't add DD4 and raids. So now you're just making this feel worse, where you're taking something and making me use it over here. So, and then in the future, I do want to acknowledge that, we don't know how hard the skillatory thing's going to be, but they are making us use them for training mats. I'm hoping they do the same thing they did with Wakandans there and make it easy. RTA, look, I have no reason to expand my roster because of RTA, but who knows in the future? Leagues, limited leagues, where it's like you can't use these characters. I don't know. We'll see. So the long and short of this whole section is, really long, is they had 17 moments in time. This is where you cue the Deadpool Colossus conversation again. The stream gets that one. Or if you've seen Deadpool, you get it too, obviously. 17 moments where you have to make a choice of widening your roster, right? So the other flip side of this is, okay, well, what have they done for us to increase? And this is a little bit harder to see. I'll try to get out of the way here. Increase of mats provided. That's the section we're looking at. That's what's above my head here. Okay. Increase of mats provided. So we're looking at times they've gone to the game and said, you know what? We've added so much stuff, or the inflation or the escalation of costs of things. We've added so many of these things. We have to course correct our economy. We have to do different things. Now, we tried to think of every different moment that might have happened. Some of the things I chose to, like, you know what, I'm not sure that really even counts. I really wanted to look at stuff that, you know, was at least an attempt. So first one was a gold orb slight change. Look, did it move the dial? In my opinion, no, but I wanted to list it. You'll notice it's not highlighted green. I'll get that in a second. Again, I've totaled the number at the bottom, 1. Relic Hunt mats increase, number 1. And I listed as a light green because the green isn't meant to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's what you should have done. That's how you properly escalate an economy. That's how you properly influx or backfill into economy to make sure that people can keep up. I did a light green because the relic hunt wasn't that high. As far as I was concerned, it was like, thank you, but it's not really moving the dial. You know, they also did the red promos for Chaos Theory. It's like, all right. I listed Red Star rework, but I put it in parentheses. I did challenge tiers, but it was like, yeah, but they weren't really an ad though. So in this column of 4, I really only added 2 because the Red Star rework, I can't really give credit for that. Challenge tiers, I was kind of like, I guess, maybe. Next section, again, Red Star rework at number 2 at some point that came along. I'm not sure I can really give much credit there for something like that. ISO 8 campaign, someone brought up that up in stream. They do give a little bit of gear in that, you know, so it's like, all right, I can give some credit there. They did adjust the daily rewards though, and I highlighted that as green because to me that is something that needs to happen at certain occasions in game, right? It's like, you know what? We need to adjust the rewards in our daily rewards. You know, hint Scopely, you should probably do that for all of your campaigns 1 through 6 or whatever they are. Double some of those mats in there, triple some of those mats so that your catch-up mechanics there. I've already suggested Scopely as well that in raids, your Ultimates raids 1 through 5 or even 6, like quadruple the rewards in those so that the people who are only playing those for, you know, who knows, 2 months, 3 months, I don't even know, 6 months maybe, where some of us played those raids for a year each. You know, maybe a year for 1 through 4, or a year through 1 through 5, and a year for 6. Like, we had a long time to farm those raids. These new people don't. So you got to adjust those, right? So anyway, I wanted to give them the credit for that, adjusted the daily rewards. And then, you know, they did bring in the Doom campaigns, which again, I highlight green for the gear tier 14. As you eventually get to a point where it's like, hey, we need to make gear tier 14 more readily available. Notice I don't have a gear 13 anywhere in here. I don't recall a point they ever did that, but they did do it for 14. Thank you. And then eventually they just recently did it for the gear 15 stuff. They did it in the store and the orb increases. These are the type of things that should be happening all the time as the game moves forward. Okay. So there's a point in time where new content is added, something that's way back behind the line, whether it's G14, G15, or, you know, T2 materials or T3 materials or purple materials or purple gear or training mats. Something needs to be increased so that all these things back here that like don't matter as much anymore can be brought up quicker. Okay? Because you're still adding things on the front end, characters, things, that aren't, you know, that people still need to do. So you need to make the things back here quicker to get. Anyway, you get that idea. And then in the future, They're doubling the orange gear, which frankly, I don't think is enough. I put that in a different video, I believe. Training mats are getting added. That seems like it's pretty good, and they're increasing the relic hunt event again. So hopefully that event or that increase is pretty good. Overall, and a couple more things I want to point out at the bottom here. Now, is that they used to have gold blitz, every so often, a gear blitz. I don't understand we don't have those once a month, at least. Like, hey, just throw those in once a month, help people out a little bit. At least the gear blitz, the blue and purple gear blitz. Like, why is that not happening more often? I don't get it. And let whoever wants to do them. If there was a blue gear blitz, I'd probably just milestone and chill and let these lower tier player, lower like CP players get through that and get a ton of blue gear. You know what I mean? It's like, cool, great. It helps them catch up. I also listed here a War League's rewards rework, but I think that was more of reshuffling things. It was also due to shelling, so I don't think that was anything that I necessarily want to give credit for. I also want to mention that in case you're thinking, well, yeah, but when new raids come, they give you more gear. Yeah, as new and harder raids come with more rewards, the requirements to beat them also go up. So you've also got to make your characters get stronger. So for me, that's kind of a wash, not worthy of listing. So all of these things down here, there were 7. And if you remember, the number up here was 17. I also didn't mention up here, 3 to 4 tunes a month. And I didn't even count that in this column. But you got to be able to remember that those are there to keep up with the meta, whether it's war or arena or who knows what. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, if I'm getting these new tunes, I need these things specifically for war, because now I've got a new defense team, and guess what? They sell you the team that beats them on offense. Okay, well, you're keeping up with the Joneses here, right? You got to keep trading those. So that, I didn't count it there, but that's something. So again, let's zoom out just a little bit, and I'll zoom over to the left here as we wrap this thing up. At the top here, we've got a widening roster where we've got, Scopely adding 17 different moments in time of why you as a player need to increase and widen your roster. But we've only got 7 moments in time. And a lot of those moments, by the way, were from things like Fix MSF or someone in the group Reddit community going, hey, I'm going nuts. Or they just saw their metrics and maybe they don't care what we say. I don't know. For some reason, they decided to do it. I don't really care. You decide why it was. That's not the point here. The point here is that there's a whole bunch of times they're looking for us to widen our roster. And there's not so many times where they're looking for us to increase mats provided, or that they've given us more mats in the economy. So that's the culmination of the video. I could have summed that up and just said that in a second. Sorry, but I felt like I wanted to walk through it and really show you these things, because I think it'll hit home a little bit more, where it's kind of like, yeah, wait a minute. This is the foundation of the problem here. If we have to widen our roster so much that there are all these bottlenecks. Okay, so yeah, hey, Scopely, you make us widen our roster while not giving additional materials in places, or not enough. Like, have your bottlenecks, but you got to understand, and my hope is that because these greens here are more recent, the Doom 14, the gear tier 14 for Doom campaigns, the G15 gear, that we're seeing those more recently, that Scopely is recognizing, oh wow, guys, we really got to insert stuff into the game as we move content forward. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. Let me know what your thoughts are. Comment in the description below. Swing by the Discord. Let us know what your thoughts are there. I'd love to hear, anyone's thoughts, comments, etc. on this. Am I crazy? Am I off base here? I really do think this is the foundation of the problem in the game, as far as when people complain about what's going on with bottlenecks, requirements, not being able to keep up, etc. So hammer down that like button, click that notification bell, subscription button. You know the drill. Until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.